Hello all, welcome to Fireblaze AI School. In this video, we'll be seeing, as you can see on the screen, 10 SQL interview question and answers. So let's get started. Let's not waste our time, in talking. Let's get started. All right. So the first question here is, what is SQL and why is it important? All right. SQL stands for Structured Query Language, and it is important for communicating with databases. Whenever we want to perform CRUD operations, that means create, read, update, and delete operations on a database, we use SQL. Alright, so this is how you answer this question. But if you want to add one more line, you can say SQL is like a communication language that we need to communicate with the databases. All right, so this is how we answer this question. All right, moving on to the next question. What is the difference between where and having clause? Now this is a very favorite question when it comes to the interviewers. All right. So where and having clause both are used for filtering the data, but there is a key difference between using these two. Where clause can be used anytime whenever we want to filter a data, based on some condition, except when we have aggregated the function using group by. So whenever we use group by and we use some kind of aggregation, we cannot use where clause for filtering. In that case, we have to use having clause. So the key difference is where clause is used anywhere before aggregating or before using group by, but once we have aggregated using group by, we have to use having clause. Alright, this is how you answer this question. Moving on, what are the different types of joins in SQL? So there are in total 6 types of joins in SQL. First is inner join, the second is the left outer join, third is right outer join, fourth is full outer join. Alright, then comes the fifth, that is self join, and the last is cross join. So these are the 6 types of joins in SQL. Alright, moving on to the next question. How do you find duplicate rows in a table? Alright, so what many of you do wrong is you will say we use distinct function to find out the duplicate rows, but in actual we do not use unique for that. Unique function is used for finding out the unique values in a table, but not the duplicates, right? It is completely opposite. So but for finding out the duplicate values, we would have to group by, we would have to use group by and having filter for that. Again, this kind of questions, these are not the questions that you need to answer orally. You have to write it down in a notepad. Alright, the interviewer gives you a pen and a paper and you have to solve it over there. Alright, but let me try to answer it orally. So to find the duplicate rows in a table, what we need to do is we need to group by all the unique values and then aggregate them by their count. Wherever the count is greater than 1, we can definitely say that this is a duplicate row. So the query will go like select column from table, group by column having count of column greater than 1. This will be the query for which will retrieve us all the duplicate rows in a table. Alright, this is how you answer this question. Now moving on to the next question. What is a subquery? Give an example. Alright, so a subquery is a phenomena of a query within a query. Whenever I have to retrieve a value from a query, or maybe not just a value but a list or a table from some kind of query, and whenever I want to use that within a query, I have to use this as a subquery. Alright, subquery, so give an example. Example of a subquery is whenever I want to find out a salary or the employees, whoever salary is greater than the average salary. Then in this case, what I will do is select employee name from table where salary is greater than Now I would require a average salary over here, but I cannot directly write average and then salary like this, because these functions, these are only used in columns. So I would have to write a subquery over here which will be select average salary from table. This will retrieve me the average salary on and the main query will give me all the values that are above this average salary. Right. So this is how we answer this question. Moving on to the next question, that is, what are window functions? How are they different from group by? Alright, so let me try to answer this. So group by as well as window functions tend to perform a same kind of operation, which is aggregation. So there are some kind of aggregation functions in window functions, and group by in itself performs aggregation. But there is a key difference between the two. In group by, what it does is it summarizes the table, and the summary of the table might not, or 99% of the times is not same as the original table. The shape of the table gets changed. Alright, but in window function the shape of the table does not get changed, the number of rows does not change, just one new column is added whenever we apply window functions. This will help us, this helps us better way to keep the data intact or keep the shape of the table intact as it was before. Okay, so this is how we answer this question. Now moving on to the next question, how do you optimize a slow SQL query? Okay, so to optimize a slow SQL query, there are a few steps that we need to take. First is we need to check if we have selected everything from a table. Whenever we tend to select everything from a table, it tends to slow down the queries. Instead, what we should do is we should select all the relevant columns from a table. In this way, we will not just slow down, we will not just be relevant to the output, but we will in turn also make the query output faster. Second is we need to create indices. Whenever we create indices, what it does is using B-tree mapping, it assigns a certain index to every row in a table, and what happens is querying after creating these indices becomes faster. The query output results are returned faster than before. Alright. The third thing that we can do to optimize slow SQL query is to stop using the aliases. Using aliases makes the query readable, but it also tends to make it slower. So we should stop using aliases and use the names as it is. Use the aliases only when there is requirement. Alright. So this is about this question. This is how we answer this question. Moving on to the next question, that is, what's the difference between union and union all? This is a pretty simple question, and the output or the answer is pretty basic one-liner. The difference between union and union all is union retrieves all the values, whether unique or duplicate, between the two tables that we are trying to merge or that we are trying to join, whereas union all brings all the values from the table. So again, so my mistake. I just said a wrong answer. So union brings all the unique values present in both the tables that we are trying to join, whereas union all brings all the values unique or duplicate from both the tables. So this is the only key difference between union and union all. Alright. Don't go for, and whenever you go for an interview, accept that you said something wrong. This shows that you are confident enough to be responsible for your mistakes. This is also good, what you can say, a trait in an employee. All right. Moving on. How can we find the second highest salary in the table? Again, this type of question is a pen and paper type of question, but let me try to answer it orally. All right. So in order for me to find the second highest salary, the approach I would take is I will select a subquery that will not contain the maximum salary, and then what I will do is find out the maximum salary in this table. This will make sure I get the second highest salary from the table. So the query will go right, select maximum salary or max salary from table where salary is less than, select or subquery, select maximum salary from the table. What this will do is the maximum salary that is selected over here, this table will retrieve all the values that are less than that, and whenever you find the maximum salary from that retrieved values, it will actually be the second highest salary from the actual table. So this is how you answer this question. But again, don't worry, you won't have to solve it orally. You will have to write it down, which makes it more easier for you rather than explaining this orally. Moving on to the last question in this video is, what is common table expression and how is it useful? Alright. Okay. So common table expression is an expression that we use when we have to reduce the redundancy in the table. For example, if I have a query that I need to run it several times in my main query, and what will happen is sometimes this query is not properly readable, and using this query multiple times will only make me as well as the reader confused about this query. In this case, what we do is we create a CTE, that is a common table expression, and instead of repeating the query again and again itself, we just repeat the CTE name, and thus we can reduce the redundancy in the in a query. The second useful thing that CTE is used for is it helps us increase the readability of the code. Since we are reducing the reoccurrences of this what you can say this one single expression, it will help us read the query in a better way. Alright, so this is how you answer this question. Alright, so I hope you got to learn something new from these 10 videos. I hope you got to learn how to answer such questions. There are more frequently asked questions, but everything cannot be answered in a single video. So if you like this video, if you got to learn something new from this video, please like, share and subscribe this video. And if you think you got to learn something new from this video, please follow us. Please follow Fireblaze AI School, and then for more such content and more such videos. Alright, we'll be coming with more such videos on our channel. Alright, so thank you all for joining this video, and thank you all for being such attentive listeners. And I hope to see you in some new video, some new day. Alright, but until then, thank you all.